Okay, let's go over some of the hotkeys that I use. I set O to pull up the outliner, and that just opened up outside the recording area. I use Alt G to pop up my graph editor, but since I already have it open, I don't need it. What I'll do is, if say I'm using this full screen in perspective, and I'm using it primarily in here instead of going out to here to use it, I'll stay in full screen and then launch the graph editor to use it side by side if it's inconvenient to go out, or I want to stay maximized. It really just depends on your workflow, keeping it organic and working however suits your needs at the current time or given the current assignment. You'll find that things change from time to time, or your workflow will modify itself depending on certain projects or whatever the case may be. Let's see, trying to think. Oh yeah, I set up some user hotkeys. I'm going to show you what they are real quick. I'm going to show you how I use them, and then I'll go show you how to create them. Let's just scale this up a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to move this over here, go back to 0. I'm going to set a keyframe by pressing the S key. I'm going to move over to the timeline. I'm going to move it up here, move the timeline, drag this down. All right, so when I'm posing out an animation, I'll set my keyframes very evenly spaced on the character, and again, we'll get into this a little bit later down the road. And then I'll go back and adjust my timing between those poses. And a quick way to do that is I have some keys set up that will delete in-betweens. And I have them set up to be Alt-X to delete it in between and Alt-C to add. And you can see as I'm adding in-betweens, it's changing the spacing between these two keys. And as I delete them, it's making them the spacing shorter. So now it's going to be quicker between this pose and this pose. If you use the comma and period key, you can flip between your drawings, and that also kind of gives you a quick way just to see your keys and your timings without worrying about what the in-betweens are doing. I like to flip quite a bit when I'm animating. So let me just go ahead and show you how I created those. Under Setting Preferences, Hotkey Editor, and what you're going to do is you go under User. You'll see these are the two that I created: add in between and remove in between. You're just going to go down here and click New, and it's going to open up this field. You're going to give it a name, Add in Between, and then I usually basically just copy it. Whatever I have here, I'll just paste it in here. And then you give it the Mel script. Make sure it's on Mel, and then you hit Accept. And that's going to create the command, and you're also going to want to give it, once you do that, you're going to be able to assign it a hotkey. So let's cancel out of that. All right, I'm going to copy this. This is the actual Mel command here, time slider, edit keys, space, add in between, semicolon. So I'm just going to copy that, and then we're going to just create a new one from scratch just so you can see how to do it. So we're going to go New, we're going to call it In Between Example, and In Between. I didn't want to copy and paste it because then I'd lose what was in my clipboard. And I'll paste that command there. Accept, then it adds it into the user command list here, In Between Example, and this is where you can add a key to it. So let's just say we're going to use the modifier Alt and V. Query it first to see what it's assigned to. remove in between command. All right, so apparently I had another in between. I had this set to C and V at one point. Anyway, so you want to just check to see if it's assigned to anything. A lot of times it'll tell you it's not assigned to anything, and it might be assigned to something very obscure that you probably won't ever use. So then you can just overwrite it. So then you run the assignment, and it'll tell you if it's already assigned to something. And I have it assigned to remove in between, name command. You want to override it with your new, and then I want to hit yes, assign. So now it's added it to the list, and then when you go and go ahead and save it and close out of it, and you go back, it now functions by adding that in between there. So there you have that. Okay, and those are two really the main ones that I use. I also have a hotbox that I created for quick commands. Hold down the A key and then hold and click the mouse button. I have an autosave feature to autosave. These three here are for cycling curves when I'm doing like walk cycles or any other type of animation cycle. I can quickly cycle the curves, have the curves be linear or constant. I use those a lot. This is a picker tool that we were using on DC Universe animating. These are some other tools, the ARC tool and IKFK GUI that we're using on DC Universe. I also have some multi-selects based on the character that we're going to be animating. I'll show you those a little bit later. And then pick curve mask, basically all that does is up here in the curve mask selection. It turns everything off but the curves. So select curve objects. It turns off joints, meshes, everything else. So when I'm working on the rig, anytime I slide or select anything, I'm just selecting the controllers for the rig. I'm not going to select the mesh or anything else. So no matter how hard I try to select this, I can't select the mesh. It just makes it easier and faster for just selecting the controllers for the rig and not anything else. Sometimes I'll go in here and select this to, if I need to select the joints of the hands because they don't have controllers, they're just bones. And I can just, toggle that off relatively easily. But the majority of the work is on the curves. So that's why I have that set up there. And I think that pretty much covers any of the shortcuts that I use for now. If I think of anything else, I'll try to bring it up as I go along. So let's move on.